All right, heads, fresh out of the dishwasher. BLAWK, still the same as you last saw it. Other head done. I've cleaned up all the valves, got most of the carbon off of them, cleaned up all the valve springs, cups, and keepers, cleaned up all the rocker arms, cleaned up all the lifters. So now I'm gonna lap valves. I haven't lapped valves probably ever. Normally I let machine shops build my engines because they're smarter than I am. But I got some valve grinding compound, and then I've got coarse grinding compound and fine. So I think I'm gonna use the rough grind from this for all of them, and then finish them all with the fine out of this. That's what we're looking for. A nice consistent ring around the whole thing. One head done, on to the next, just to show you guys. So that's kind of the surface we're working with. That's what the head looks like. That's on an intake valve. I'll show you an exhaust valve. Pretty dirty, not very defined. A little more defined on the head side. So we're running this compound first and this fine compound second. And the goal is to get something like this. Very defined ring. Very defined ring. That's on an exhaust. And then this is an intake. Very defined. Very defined. And it's a nice, smooth, even mating surface for the valves. If you don't know what the purpose of that is, you lap the valves in an effort to get them to seal better. You just run it around the edge and get a little bit of that compound. You really don't need to use much. This jar will probably last me 40 fucking motors. But you just put a little bit of that compound on there. You put it through. You don't want to put it on the valve stem. You just put it on the valve seat surface. And then normally these sticks come in these sets. Smallest, medium, large, extra large. There's also, what I debated doing, you can get hot glue sticks and you heat up one end and you stick them to the middle of the valve and you can put them on a power drill and spin them on a power drill. And that's a fast, easy way to do it. I was gonna do that, but I don't have any hot glue sticks and it's midnight, so no one's open. But if you have these suction sticks, you take whatever the appropriate size suction cup is, you put it on there, stick it on, and as long as you get suction, you see how that's spinning the valve? You don't have to put pressure inwards, you just build the suction, occasionally it'll let go, and you just sit there and spin it back and forth, and if it had the grinding compound on this valve, you'd be hearing it, and you just kind of grind it back and forth until you feel it's about right. You pop it out, clean off the grinding compound, make sure your surface looks good, and then you're good to go. So we've already done one head like that. I'm gonna put you guys back up on the garage door. And that's that. I've been at it maybe an hour. That whole head has been lapped. This head's been lapped. We did 2 compounds. We did a coarse and a fine. But if I pop this valve out, you can see that nice clean looking seat. Pop the other valve out, you see the same thing. We did that for every valve on the head. So now they all should be nice and dandy. So we're just waiting on these valve seals. So these valve seals are supposed to be soft rubber compound. You can see I can barely squeeze them together and they make this real nice. All right, despite my best efforts, the original valve seal here versus the other valve seals I got, see there's a slight difference. The holes also have a slight difference. Ignore that that one's a little cut up. If you can see it. That one's a hair tighter. I'm not 100% sure. I've never worked with this style valve seal. I'm used to LS style valve seals, not umbrellas. The internet's telling me these are supposed to have O-rings under them. Maybe they're not supposed to, maybe they are. They didn't when I took this motor apart. And I'm not putting this valve seal on it because it doesn't fit the head side well at all compared to these ones. So, unfortunately, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think these are the right valve seals that'll work with this motor. That being said, I'm gonna do the age-old practice of sending it and just putting the original valve seals on. They're rock hard, they're probably gonna leak oil, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't burn a little bit of oil and gas, I can't call it a hybrid and park in the green parking spaces at work. Hang you guys back up on the garage door. This will be like the 9th time lapse of this video. I'm sure you guys are loving hearing the same 2 royalty-free songs on repeat. But there's like 3 that are okay and the rest suck. So you're just gonna have to deal with the same 3 ones. Hopefully the camera angle is decent. You guys are mounted to my forehead. I wanted to give you, on the final valve and the last head, just a little idea of what I've been doing. So I got these cups and these springs, they're lubricated. Top part of the cup is lubricated. So I've been taking some of this engine assembly lube on the bottom of the valve spring. This isn't necessary, it's just there because it's rubbing on a bare metal surface that doesn't have any oil on it right now. My keepers, I've been lubricating with a little bit, and then on the insides, I've been putting a good dab, and that'll function as glue to keep them on the valve when I don't have my fingers on them when I'm releasing the tool. So we're putting the valve spring right there. On a small block Chevy, this style cap goes on your exhaust valves, normal flat cap goes on your intake valves. So we're lining it up using our hand or fingers to get it just tight enough. And then I've been using the screwdriver rather than the supplied handle. Supplied handle's that big. So you can see why it's easier to twist with that. But then, as you twist in on this tool, which is braced off that valve, it sucks this end in. The way you're technically supposed to use this tool is the twisty end goes on the valve side, but the way I'm running it, I wouldn't be able to twist because the screwdriver would hit there, and I don't want the valve or the head hanging off the side of the table just in case something gets bumped or whatever. I don't want a head to fall onto the ground. So I lubricated this joint to keep this from spinning and damaging the valves. And this is a neat little tool. It was pretty cheap. I just got it off Amazon. I'm used to a valve, vice grip style, but I don't have that style here. It's at my dad's. So this is kind of the next best thing. It's got these nice windows so you can get in there and put your keepers in. So once your spring's compressed, and you can see the first keeper row, put your keeper in there, and you can kind of spin it down and to the opposite side. So it's underneath, but since it's got all this grease on it, it holds on there. It doesn't just fall off. You put your other one on. I'm using this little flathead to just make sure everything's lined up. And then once it's all lined up, you release your tool ever so slowly. Now that your tool's off, that's it. So that process that I just did for this spring valve and keeper is the exact same thing I did on the other 16. So now that we're done putting the valves back in the heads, I've got to clean up the gasket surfaces again on these heads, because after I put them through the parts washer and pressure washed everything, I cleaned it, and then I put them through the dishwasher. I'll throw a picture of that up here. I just wanted to see what it would do. It didn't do great. It didn't get everything I wanted off, and all it really did was make my bare metal surfaces rust, flash rust on the surface. So, note to self, dishwasher, not good parts washer if you already have a parts washer. Take our head gasket. Through that dowel pin. And through that dowel pin. And we will bring it to the motor.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm going to start frying some meat.
Okay.
How's hamburger help us out?
Swell.
Awesome.
Now that we have the head set down on the dowel pins, we know it's not going to fall. I've got a camera on my head.
I can see that. I thought that was like a light and you just didn't have it on.
Nope.
Okay. I love you.
Love you too. So head set down on the dowel pans. Shouldn't fall. Don't spin your motor over yet. That would be silly. We're gonna take our new head bolts. These are pre-coated Fel-Pro head bolts. Normally I put ARP hardware in all my builds. This is a used motor. I'm really not worried about it. Grab our head. That's what I was worried about, this one part. Stay. Don't move. Mount. No. There we go. It's always a good sign when you need to break out a hammer to install engine parts. All right, there are all those. I'm gonna pull you guys off my head. I'm gonna put you up on the ceiling. It's a little uncomfortable, if I'm being honest. The next day. Wow, wonderful paint job. Barely got any on the gasket surfaces. Still got that covered up because we got to hit this surface with a whiz wheel now. But before we do any of that, I'm going to torque the heads. I've got this wonderful cheat sheet with great handwriting from me, and this cheat sheet with other torque specs. But we're going to put you guys back up on the ceiling, and we're going to torque all the head bolts. Starting off with 35. And we're moving to 50 or 45, depends on who you ask, doesn't matter, it's not a final torque. Pretty sure I hit all of them. Yeah. That's 65. Nice. Back down to 35. $50. $65. And just like that, heads are torqued. Easy peasy.